Hello everybody. Today we're going to have a look at another budget fixed blade. The Elk Ridge clip point that I reviewed last was quite disappointing. So I thought what we need to do is have a look and see if anybody else is putting out a traditional style budget fixed blade knife and actually getting some decent quality at a decent price. Now Rough Rider is a brand that I quite like as a budget knife producer. I have had some quality issues, but generally speaking the standard is always very high when you consider how affordable the knives are. So what I've chosen is a Rough Rider drop point hunter. Okay, so here we have the standard Rough Rider box. These are Chinese made knives, but quite clearly from the branding style aimed at the US market. The knife comes wrapped, sheath separate. Now, first thing is obviously this is a synthetic sheath. The knife, the Rough Rider RR176, cost £12. So in the UK at £12 that's priced midway between a Mora Companion and a Mora heavy duty companion. So it's not an expensive knife, so I think we can't complain too much about the nylon sheath. The Elk Ridge, the shoddy clip point, did have quite a decent leather sheath, but that was half as expensive again as the Rough Rider. So for me personally, they could have increased the price for the Rough Rider from £12 to maybe 15 or 16 and provided a leather sheath. I think it would have been more in keeping with the look of the knife itself. But it's not bad, it's quite functional. Construction's basically a folded over strip of very heavy webbing with a piece at the front, and then it's got tape stitched all the way around. Unfortunately the tape is fraying, so I will need to get a lighter and melt those ends just to seal it off. And then the retention strap is sewn to the webbing. I've got a large press stud. Unfortunately the press stud, the popper, is quite textured on the reverse, so there is going to be a risk of that scratching the knife handle. So let's get the knife out. Comes in a wrap of tissue with a cardboard sleeve on the blade. So, Rough Rider drop point hunter, 440C blade. The handle scales are burl wood. Don't know what sort of wood, it's only described as burl. 2 brass pins and a brass lanyard tube which should comfortably accept paracord. Now, having given the Elk Ridge fixed blade such a slagging, we need to be upfront about the Rough Rider. The quality of the fit and finish is not perfect, but it's a damn sight better than the Elk Ridge, and for the price of the knife it's good enough. For example, on the Elk Ridge the scales and the spine of the handle weren't flush. The tang of the handle was about 1.5 millimeters proud of the scales, and on the Rough Rider you can feel the transition, but it's not enough to be a problem. Certainly not uncomfortable, certainly not sharp, doesn't look too bad at all. We do have a small gap where the scales meet the bolster. You'll be able to see these details better in the slideshow at the end. But they are there, but they are quite minor. One of the big uglinesses of the Elk Ridge was where the bolsters and the tang met was very badly finished. Rough Rider have avoided that problem by simply having a U-shaped bolster. So there is no join to get wrong on the finger guard. On the tang stamps we have RR176, the model number, and China. And on this side we have Rough Rider. It's a very comfortable knife in the hand. I would say the drop point hunter is quite a traditional style now and tried and tested for ergonomics. We place the knife in the sheath. It fits quite snugly, as you can see there. And the retaining strap is quite snug as well. So it's certainly a very functional sheath, but I do think for the style of the knife, an extra couple of pounds spent providing a leather sheath would have been better. So for £12, as I say, that's sort of halfway between a Mora companion and a heavy duty companion. It's very good, I think. Try the edge out. Ooh. The factory edge is not bad. The bevels are machined fairly evenly, but it's not a very fine edge. There is some toothiness there. So you're okay on catalogue paper, but I think we might struggle on phone book paper. Actually, that's not too bad. Ooh. Out of the box. And as I say, because the way the edge bevel has been ground is fundamentally sound, it just needs cleaning up a bit. It looks like a full flat grind, although there is a possibility that it may be an extremely shallow hollow grind. Let's see if we can check that with a straight edge. No, it is full flat. The specs for the knife, it's a fairly standard size. Handle is bolster to tip 4.5 inches, 110mm, and the blade bolster to tip is 3 3/4, or about 98mm. The blade stock, I would say, is 3mm thick. It's got a nice weight in the hand. See what the weight actually is. You see the numbers. 129.9 grams, which in English 4.6 ounces, just over 4.5 ounces in round numbers. So altogether, I think this is quite a good knife. Let's see if we can get a bit of cardboard. One thing that I think we'll need to do is a proper cutting test, because with the Elk Ridge bending with a very small drop to the floor, it does question the heat treat on the Elk Ridge. So if I'm going to say that the Elk Ridge is dodgy, we need to give this a proper test as well. But up to now, that seems perfectly fine on the corrugated cardboard. And if we get another piece of paper, try again. Yeah, I think you can hear it is catching quite a bit, but I think fundamentally we could have a good knife there. I think what I'll do is I'll just take a minute out of the video and give it a little strop. Right, that really was less than a minute on the strop. We'll just get another piece of paper. Oh. So just that 1 minute on the strop has already given us an improvement. So I think this blade holds a lot of promise. So there we have it, the Rough Rider, what is it again? RR176. For not much more than the price of a Mora Companion. Hope you found that interesting. Have a look at the slideshow at the end, and thanks for watching.